What if the most beautiful plant in your garden was actually plotting its takeover? You plant it, it blooms, and before you know it, your entire yard is choked, cracked, or crawling with chaos. Today we're counting down 12 deadly plants you should never plant in your garden, unless you want a nightmare on your hands. Let's start at number 12. Trust me, it only gets worse. It smells refreshing. It makes your tea taste divine. But plant mint directly in your garden soil, and it'll stage a full-blown invasion. Mint is deceptively charming. With its fragrant leaves and fast growth, it's often one of the first herbs gardeners plant. But here's the hidden truth. Mint spreads through underground runners called rhizomes, and once they take hold, they're nearly impossible to stop. Left unchecked, mint will weave through your garden beds, choking out veggies, herbs, and flowers like a leafy conqueror. What's worse? Even pulling it out doesn't guarantee success. Miss a single root strand and it comes back stronger, like it's plotting revenge. So, what should you do if you love the scent but hate the chaos? Contain it. Grow mint in pots, never in open soil. Even better, place the pot on a patio or paved area to block its roots entirely. Want a more garden-friendly herb with similar charm? Try lemon balm. It's easier to manage and less aggressive. In short, mint is like that guest who overstays their welcome. It's fragrant and fun, until it takes over the whole house. So unless you want a garden mint mare, keep this one tightly contained. At first glance, Japanese anemones seem like the perfect fall-blooming perennial. With their soft pink or white petals and delicate swaying stems, they add grace when most flowers have faded. But behind that charm lies a hidden menace. These beauties are bullies. Japanese anemones spread underground via rhizomes, and once they're established, they're notoriously difficult to remove. Gardeners often plant one or two, only to find entire beds overtaken in a year or two. They pop up through mulch, under fences, and even among tightly spaced plants, aggressively crowding out less assertive neighbors. What makes it worse is their stealth. They start slow, then suddenly erupt in every corner of your garden, often displacing native species and delicate perennials you carefully nurtured. So what can you plant instead? Try hardy geraniums like Roseanne or Brookside. They bloom for months, stay where you put them, and are pollinator magnets, all without staging a garden takeover. Japanese anemones might be marketed as low-maintenance elegance, but in reality, they're a high-maintenance removal project waiting to happen. Unless you enjoy digging deep and battling stubborn roots, it's best to admire this bully from afar, not in your backyard. English ivy might look romantic climbing up brick walls or cascading from fences, but this classic ground and wall cover comes with a destructive secret. It slowly tears everything apart. Sure, it's evergreen, hardy, and fast-growing, but that's exactly the problem. English ivy uses tiny root-like structures to grip onto surfaces. Over time, it burrows into cracks in brick, wood, stucco, and even trees, trapping moisture and accelerating rot, mold, and structural damage. It's not just cosmetic, it can devalue your property and weaken your home's foundation. Worse, when it climbs trees, it forms a dense mat that blocks sunlight and adds weight, increasing the risk of trees toppling during storms. And if left unmanaged, it spreads invasively, smothering native plants and turning once thriving gardens into monocultures. If you love the look of climbing greenery, choose safer alternatives like Virginia creeper or Boston ivy. Both are less aggressive and easier to remove. English ivy is like that charming guest who wrecks your home while smiling sweetly. It might look elegant, but in the long run, it's a costly mistake. Think twice before letting this climber take hold. Once it's in, it doesn't let go. Looking for fast-growing privacy? Russian vine might seem like a dream, but plant it once and it can quickly become a nightmare on a trellis. Also called mile-a-minute vine, this plant lives up to its name, growing over 4 inches a day in peak season. It climbs, spreads, and completely smothers everything in its path: fences, sheds, trees, even small structures. Within a single season, you might go from beautiful screen to, where did my garden go? Its dense foliage blocks light from reaching other plants, killing them off. And the real kicker, Russian vine is incredibly hard to control. Cut it back, and it regrows even faster. Dig it up, and any root left behind can sprout a brand new vine. Want a vertical accent that won't take over your life? Try clematis, honeysuckle, or climbing roses. They offer beauty, pollinator benefits, and far less chaos. Russian vine is often sold as a quick-fix solution for bare walls or fences, but it's more like a living, leafy avalanche. If you're not prepared to battle it constantly, steer clear. The quick solution it promises often leads to years of regret and serious garden cleanup. Need privacy fast? Leyland cypress is often the go-to tree for quick screening, but don't let its fast growth fool you. This tree can become a towering problem in disguise. Leyland cypress grows incredibly fast, up to 3 to 4 feet per year, and can reach over 100 feet tall if left unpruned. What starts as a neat row of evergreens quickly turns into a dense, oversized wall that demands constant trimming just to stay manageable. Skip a season, and you're looking at major pruning work or worse, tree removal. And it's not just size. Leyland cypress has shallow roots, making it prone to toppling in storms. The sheer size also means it hogs water and nutrients, leaving nearby plants struggling. Plus, the dense foliage blocks sunlight, turning your garden into a shaded, lifeless zone underneath. Worried about nosy neighbors but don't want a future forest to manage? Try arborvitae, wax myrtle, or viburnum. They offer privacy without the drama. Leyland cypress may seem like a silent solution, but over time, it grows into a giant burden. It's better to plan for beauty and balance than to spend years fighting a tree that never stops growing. Bamboo brings a sense of peace and exotic beauty to the garden, but when you plant the wrong kind, specifically running bamboo, you're not planting tranquility. You're planting trouble. Running bamboo spreads fast through underground rhizomes, often extending 20 feet or more in every direction. It doesn't respect fences, borders, or your neighbor's property line. One season it's a stylish screen, the next it's bursting through patios, foundations, and even cracks in concrete. It's one of the few plants that can turn your entire landscape into a jungle. And here's the worst part, it's almost impossible to remove. Even a tiny piece of root left behind can regrow, meaning complete eradication takes years of digging, cutting, and constant surveillance. If you love bamboo but hate drama, choose clumping bamboo instead. It grows in tidy, non-invasive clumps and stays where you plant it. Or consider ornamental grasses like miscanthus or fountain grass for a similar look with zero chaos. Running bamboo is a textbook example of a plant that starts serene but ends in war. Unless you're ready to install deep root barriers and patrol your garden year-round, this peaceful plant will invade your life, quietly but completely. With its tall spikes of bright purple blooms, purple loosestrife looks like the perfect addition to any garden pond or moist border. But don't be fooled, this plant is a full-scale ecological disaster in disguise. Originally introduced as an ornamental plant, purple loosestrife quickly revealed its dark side. It spreads aggressively through both seeds and underground roots, especially in wet soils, ditches, and marshes. In the wild, it chokes out native wetland plants, destroying habitats that birds, amphibians, and pollinators rely on. One plant can produce over 2 million seeds per year. Yes, million, with each seed capable of traveling far on the wind or water. It takes over faster than most gardeners realize, and once it's established, removal is costly and labor-intensive. In many regions, it's now classified as a prohibited or noxious weed. If you're drawn to its purple elegance, consider blazing star, liatris, or bee balm, monarda, instead. Both pollinator-friendly, beautiful, and non-invasive. Purple loosestrife may offer quick color but at a devastating cost. Planting it doesn't just harm your garden, it contributes to the destruction of entire wetland ecosystems. In short, it's a killer dressed in royal purple. Wisteria is breathtaking. Its cascading lavender blooms look like something out of a storybook. But if you're planting Chinese or Japanese wisteria, you're not just adding beauty. You're inviting a relentless strangler into your garden. These varieties are incredibly aggressive climbers. Their woody vines twist and tighten around anything they touch: trees, trellises, fences, gutters, even your home's siding. As they grow, they become heavy and strong enough to snap support structures and crush delicate plants underneath. Wisteria spreads by both seed and root suckers, often sending out shoots dozens of feet away from the main plant. Trying to remove it? You'll be fighting thick, rope-like roots that dig deep and resist every shovel stroke. Still want that dreamy wisteria look without the nightmare? Go for American wisteria, Wisteria frutescens. It's a native, less aggressive alternative that's far easier to manage and still delivers gorgeous blooms. Wisteria might start as a romantic garden feature, but left unchecked, it turns into a structural hazard and a maintenance nightmare. If you don't have the time to prune and patrol it constantly, it's better to admire this elegant strangler from afar, not wrapped around your home. Don't let the name fool you. Tree of Heaven is anything but angelic. In fact, it's one of the most notorious urban invaders in the world of gardening. Originally introduced from China in the 1700s for ornamental use, this tree quickly earned a reputation for being fast-growing, highly invasive, and nearly impossible to remove. It thrives in poor soil, polluted air, and tight spaces, often growing in cracks in sidewalks, behind fences, or along foundations where most plants would never survive. Its real danger lies underground. The tree of heaven spreads aggressively through root suckers and releases chemicals that inhibit the growth of nearby plants, essentially creating a toxic zone around itself. Even worse, cutting it down often makes it grow back even faster and thicker, as its root system responds by sending up dozens of new shoots. And here's a modern twist. It's a host plant for the spotted lanternfly, an invasive insect that's rapidly damaging crops and trees in many areas. If you want a fast-growing shade tree, try redbud, serviceberry, or tupelo instead. Beautiful, native, and non-invasive. The tree of heaven may look harmless, but it's a persistent destructive force. Avoid it and save your garden from a battle you won't want to fight. Tansy may look charming with its clusters of yellow button-like flowers, but behind the cheerful facade lies a plant that's toxic, invasive, and tenacious. Once widely used in traditional medicine and pest control, tansy now wears a different label: dangerous weed. This hardy perennial spreads easily by both seed and underground roots. Once established, it forms dense colonies that push out native plants and garden favorites alike. And getting rid of it? Not so easy. Tansy's deep roots make removal a long-term struggle, one you'll revisit season after season. What makes tansy especially problematic is its toxicity. The plant contains compounds called thujones, which are toxic to humans and animals if ingested in large amounts. It can also cause skin irritation. Pets, livestock, and curious children are all at risk if this plant is growing nearby. Despite its old-world charm and pollinator appeal, tansy is better admired from a distance. Want a safer alternative? Try yarrow or coreopsis. They offer similar vibrant blooms and toughness without the toxic baggage. Tansy might be a survivor, but it thrives at the expense of everything around it. Unless you're ready for a constant battle, it's best to keep this toxic intruder out of your garden entirely. With its silvery foliage and golden yellow flowers, yellow archangel might seem like a graceful, low-maintenance ground cover, but don't be fooled. This plant is one of the sneakiest garden invaders out there, and once it settles in, it spreads fast and far. Often sold as a decorative solution for shady areas, yellow archangel quickly escapes borders and containers. It spreads through trailing stems that root wherever they touch soil, forming thick, smothering mats. These mats block out light and water, killing off native plants, delicate perennials, and even shrubs underneath. In forests and natural areas, it has become a serious threat to local biodiversity, earning it the nickname, the Golden Plague. And here's the kicker. Many gardeners plant it without realizing its impact until it's already out of control. It can even survive in harsh conditions where other plants fail, making removal extra challenging. Looking for a safer ground cover? Try wild ginger, bugleweed, ajuga, or sweet woodruff. They're equally lush and far better behaved. Yellow archangel may shine like gold, but it leaves behind a trail of ecological destruction. If you value a balanced, thriving garden, this is one plant to admire in pictures, not in your planting beds. If there's one plant that deserves the crown of garden nightmares, it's kudzu, infamously nicknamed the plant that ate the South. And once you learn what it can do, you'll understand why it tops this list. Originally introduced from Asia in the late 1800s to control erosion, kudzu quickly turned into an unstoppable invader. It can grow up to a foot per day in warm climates, blanketing trees, power lines, homes, fences, and even abandoned cars. If it touches it, it'll climb it, and eventually smother it. Kudzu is a nitrogen fixer, which gives it a competitive advantage in poor soils. It spreads by seeds, runners, and underground rhizomes. Once it's established, eradicating it takes years of aggressive cutting, herbicide, or even controlled burns, and even then, it often returns. What's worse? Kudzu outcompetes native plants, depletes ecosystems, and accelerates biodiversity loss, making it not just a gardening hazard but an environmental one. Want fast coverage without the chaos? Go with coral honeysuckle or native passionflower, gorgeous, pollinator-friendly, and easy to manage. Kudzu may look lush and leafy, but planting it is like setting off a slow-motion botanical disaster. Just one vine is all it takes to lose control, and your entire landscape. Now you know, not every plant deserves a spot in your garden. Some beauties hide beastly consequences, but with the right knowledge, you're the one in control. Want more tips to protect your garden from costly mistakes? Watch our next video on the best low-maintenance plants that thrive without fuss. Hit like, subscribe and ring the bell so you never fall for a green menace again. And tell us in the comments which of these plants surprised you the most, or do you have your own horror story to share? Let's grow smarter together.